Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. A very, very special day in Salt Lake City, in Utah on the sporting landscape. Tonight, Utah Hockey Club begins its inaugural regular season at the Delta Center. The building will be lit up, filled up, retrofitted, ready to go for a brand new professional sports product that hopefully we are all jumping on board at the same exact time. I cannot wait to get rolling with the Utah Hockey Club. We're going to talk about it today a lot. We're going to talk about what's coming up with the Utah Utes and the BYU Cougars, a big weekend on both of those fronts as well. And, of course, we will hear from you as much as we can. We're going to talk some Utah Jazz and some basketball. Tony Jones is going to swing by. Gordy Chiesa joins us every single Tuesday. The NFL is already starting the coaching carousel. This is such a premature spin on the coaching carousel in the NFL. Robert Saleh fired by the New York Jets. What? Robert Saleh has been fired by the New York Jets.
And they're 5 games in? Yeah.
I put a poll question out already on this. Is this the Johnson decision? Is this an Aaron Rodgers decision? Want to hear what you think on that. Alonzo Serenana, whose voice you just heard, is on the production duties today, spinning the tunes and pushing the buttons and hopefully making sure that I don't sound like a complete idiot on the show. Jeff Schwartz is calling in sick today, so we're going to rip that as we move forward. He joins us usually every Tuesday, but he sent me a picture message this morning of his German Shepherd laying in his bed, and he also laying in that bed and just feeling like garbage. So we won't have Jeff Schwartz on the show today. I'm very sad about that, but we'll still find ways to fill that 1 o'clock hour.
That's how I should have called in sick myself. Pictures with all the
just
dogs.
A picture of your German Shepherd.
Yeah, that I don't have.
All right. It is a first in sports. The Utah Hockey Club, for the first time, taking to the ice as a regular season NHL squad. This is going to be a memorable experience, I think, for all of us. The hope is that the storybook, we all look for a storybook ending. I want a storybook beginning on this one as well. I want 5 goals from the Utah Hockey Club. I want this place to be loud. I want everybody to leave the Delta Center tonight with a memory that they're going to carry home and talk to their grandkids about. I was at the very first game. That's what I'm hoping for. If it doesn't go down like that, fine. It's still still a great occasion because you've got a professional sports team opening its doors right here in our very own backyard. That's going to be a blast. I put a question out on the old tweet machine about what is a sports first that you remember either being in attendance for or viewing as a child, as an adult, whatever. Another sports first. It could be your sport first, something that you did for the first time, or even better, if you happen to be in attendance when it happened for the first time, like in a historical perspective. So you get to decide. 877-353-0700 on the Dish Bros text line. That's how you weigh in. Also, you can tweet at me at RealOCSports. Already a couple of good answers coming in of great first experiences, great opportunities that people had. The Portland Trailblazers NBA championship game in 1977. Our guy Trey Fitzgerald, RSL winning Utah's first major sports championship in 40 years back in 2009. There are a lot of folks who have great memories of that RSL run. And it was a momentous occasion on the Utah sports calendar, in Utah sports history, because you just hadn't had a professional league title in Utah. We don't get a Super Bowl. There's no option for that. We don't get a World Series championship. The Larry O'Brien Trophy evaded the Utah Jazz in its best chances a couple of times. And RSL, of all teams, 2009 RSL MLS Cup championship, a championship for Salt Lake City. How many times, if you listen to this show, did you hear Bill Riley with that intro? So just a lot of great potential sports firsts for you to get through. But I want to know which ones mattered most to you. 2010, the Highland Ram Mighty Mites defeating Hillcrest Huskies in the championship game that went into 5 overtimes. You just had to be there. I did not think I was going to get a Little League football first, but there it is. I was at the first Salt Lake Buzz game in 1994. I hope you have the ticket stub from that.
That's cool.
And I'm actually a little bit bothered that you have to go through a special process now to get a ticket stub for any event.
Yeah, for any event.
Because the ticket stub was one of the all-time great souvenirs. It was also an all-time great autograph opportunity.
Yes.
You know this better than anyone, Alonzo, being on the road, being on tour, being like within that music world so much. I mean, how many times is the thing that is getting signed the ticket stub?
I would say like 98% of the time.
Now what are you going to do? You're going to walk up to Post Malone and be like, hey, get that Sharpie and sign my phone.
That happens a lot now.
That's dumb.
Yeah, I see that a lot now. Where like even like at RSL when I was there a couple years ago, kids would they'd pull out their shoe, or they'd pull out their phone like, hey, Cheat Joe, could you sign this? And I'm like, okay. At least they've adapted.
It's like that scene from Step Brothers where he's got a samurai sword signed by Randy Jackson. Just the most random thing I've signed.
See, I'm a random knickknack guy, as you know. Like
We've talked about this. Yeah.
Yes, I prefer the random knickknacks that are signed, and so for me, that movie has stuck with me just because of the samurai sword signed by Randy Jackson.
This one coming in from Shake and Bake, great name. Also a Will Ferrell reference on Twitter. Being in Vegas for the Utes' first Pac-12 title. That one I think is a recent memory that a lot of folks that listen to this show probably share. That was a special time. Now, I would say that even like the first trip to the Pac-12 championship game was a lot of fun. I don't remember the exact date, obviously.
It was a long time ago. I mean, that was 90s, 97, something like that, I think.
Let's see. Chuck Knobloch's first hit in Major League Baseball was 93? A single off Bob Welch of on April 10th. So I guess that would have been it.
Yeah, so that was what, 93? That was a long time ago.
I was just a young buck.
Yeah, you were a youngin'. You were a baby O'Connell.
But it's fun to know your favorite first.
Do you only have like
first San Francisco 49ers game was a momentous occasion. My first Super Bowl I actually cared about was the 49ers winning that. My first Super Bowl party that I threw for my friends was that 49ers win over the San Diego Chargers in 1994. You want to know how many people actually showed up to my 11-year-old Super Bowl party?
I'm gonna go over under 3. You invite 10 people, 3 people show up.
Well, the problem on throwing a Super Bowl party is there are too many options. People have too many options to go to great Super Bowl parties, right? And if your food is not going to be the best, which, newsflash, as an 11-year-old, the food was not going to be the best. I'm getting text messages, 877-353-0700. We're not streaming yet. We'll get it figured out. We'll figure out why the show is not streaming
I'll
right
look
now.
at it. I mean, we got a few people watching.
Okay. Hey, hi everyone. Thank you for.
I'm about to actually.
in
I'm
on
going to
YouTube
tweet the
watch.
link out in case you're at the wrong place.
Okay. So, NHL showing up in Salt Lake City and the Utah Hockey Club beginning their inaugural season tonight. Momentous for just the hockey reasons, but also pro sports. What in general. I think realized that maybe it was COVID. Maybe this is the only good thing that came out of COVID. But I think we realized at some point with the crazy scheduling, it says, just got in my car and nothing. Are we going out over the air? Hello, ladies, gentlemen. Text me if you can hear my voice, 877-353-0700. One of the interesting things about the whole COVID experience is I think we learned in sports that things actually can happen quickly. You can actually do things rapidly in sports. That college football games do not have to be scheduled 13 years in advance. That a home and home with LSU does not have to be something that you tell your kids about so that your kids can take the season tickets and do it. You yourself can actually look forward to it and potentially attend these games. BYU was right at the forefront of this. As an independent, they put together a real schedule, and they were scheduling games on several weeks' notice instead of several years' notice. It was just a wild time in sports. And I realistically think that this maybe changed the timelines with which we view sporting anything. And maybe it was part of the reason why the NHL, and more specifically why the Smith Entertainment Group and Ryan Smith said, we can get an NHL team to Salt Lake City, and we can do it now. We can go 6 months from inception to realization of this dream. We are so unbelievably fortunate in this market to add the right owner, be available with the right funds at the right inflection point for the NHL and for the Arizona Coyotes franchise and for the political situation down there in the Phoenix-Tempe area. All of it kind of came to a head in such a way that we get to be the lucky ones. And that's an unfamiliar feeling for Utah sports fans in a lot of ways. I think most of us who have spent time in this market feel as though we're a little bit cursed potentially, a little bit hurt potentially by the idea that, even in the best years, you were just the bridesmaid, never the bride. You were so close. And there's a possibility that that's what happens on the baseball front. Did we just go to break? What was that? Okay, we're good. I'm hearing like the anyway. Here in Salt Lake City, we are the lucky ones for once, where it all came together at the right time. Utah gets an NHL franchise, not an NBA franchise, an NHL franchise. And by the way, it's an NHL franchise that was already a couple of years into its rebuild. If you get an expansion team, the expansion reality is you are putting a roster of like 34-year-old players together, and some of them are going to be good, and a lot of them are not, and you're going to piece together a roster in a supplemental draft situation, and you get the guys that other teams are either offloading or no longer interested in, or they're in that weird purgatory between teams, whatever. Instead, you get a team with a quality young core, with a couple of really interesting goal scorers specifically, with a plan already in place, with a coach who's respected in the business, with a GM in Bill Armstrong who has been through this process before and has the patience, knowledge to approach Ryan Smith and say, look, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to get you to where you want to be, but this is what it's going to look like. And everything we know from Bill Armstrong's interviews and articles written about his process and his game plan is that patience is something that is being accepted and potentially returned by ownership, which is, of course, crucial in pro sports. And we're going to get to what it looks like when you don't have it, as is going on in the NFL right now, and as might be going on in in college sports, which have become pro sports. So Salt Lake, for once, gets to be the lucky ones, and you get an NHL franchise that has on its roster a couple of rising all-star caliber talents, that has the assets to go out and around the draft and in trades bring in guys with Cup experience and Stanley Cup championship credentials. And you have the opportunity with a new ownership group and a community, and that's all of you all out there, that's me and all of you, that are so enthusiastic about this reality happening. You have now re-energized the team. You have now re-energized the core group of not just players, but of personnel, of coaches, of staff that are believing this can be, at the end of the rebuild, a Stanley Cup winning team. And I know that there is some trepidation about whether or not your team here is ever going to win great championships, the highest heights. You're ever going to achieve like the top of the heap type of abilities. Because even with Hall of Fame basketball players, the Jazz never got it done for you. It's been since 1980, 40 years since any of the college teams here claimed national championship status. The major revenue-producing teams, I should say. But tonight is the beginning of a collective journey for the franchise and the community supporting the franchise, where it is all about, for now, belief and optimism and a way forward. And I just want to acknowledge how unique that is in sports, because today we're feeling great. Tomorrow we'll still be feeling great even if this team loses. In 3.5 months, we'll probably still be feeling great because we have a hockey team. In 6 months, they're going to announce that it's probably going to be the Utah Yeti, and they're going to give us a logo, and we're going to have a conversation about whether we love it or we hate it, and do I want to buy the logo? Do I want to buy that sweater? What's it going to look like on a ball cap? And we're going to be revitalized again with our attention for this Utah Hockey Club, and it's just going to be fun for the first little while. And after that wears off, I really believe that after that initial honeymoon period wears off, now you're going to be in a situation. Look at that. Utah Hockey Club is a bubble team. Utah Hockey Club has a chance to make these Western Conference playoffs. Utah Hockey Club, I don't think they're going to win the cup this year, but maybe they'll bring home a couple playoff wins. And we'll get some playoff experience for these young guys that don't already have it. And the elder statesmen who have been in this situation before and have been through that gauntlet and grind of NHL playoff hockey, have already grown the beard out several times. They're going to teach these young guys how to do it, and then heading into the 2025-26 season, now you're a little bit further along than you hoped you were going to be. And maybe one of these young guys that you drafted is further along in his process, and maybe you see Tisha Ginla before, 2027. We don't know what it's going to look like, but you're at the beginning. You're at the first step of this incredible climb that I think we all get to do together in a very unique way in pro sports. When I jumped on the 49ers bandwagon, it was because my grandma was a Bay Area sports fan. My grandparents and married in the Bay Area in California, and their childhood sports allegiances had been to Bay Area sports teams. And my grandma bought me that merch, and I was wearing the little 49ers gear, and I was sitting down with her and with my grandpa watching 49ers football games. And then when the San Jose Sharks came into existence in the early 90s, she was like, oh, look at that, an NHL team that now, and they've got a cool color scheme, and she got me. I had one of those starter satin jackets, and I had the 49ers gold one. I think it was 4th or 5th grade that my grandma got me the teal blue Sharks with the tackle twill with the embroidered logo, the Sharks snapping the stick in half. And when you're in Sandy, Utah, you're the only kid wearing Sharks gear. Makes you feel awesome. But I became a fan of those teams because of somebody else. Because my grandma influenced me in that way. And, of course, my parents were like, yeah, whatever. Like, you guys can be fans of whoever you want. I was a Twins fan because I grew up in Minnesota. Still am. When I jumped on that bandwagon, it was already full. There were people who had been generational fans. That's not the case now for Utah Hockey Club. We all get to be ground zero fans of a franchise that begins its season tonight at the Delta Center. You get to be among the very first to say, I was there. If you're watching the game on TV, if you're attending the game in person, it kind of doesn't matter. I hope you get to be there. I'm excited about getting to be there tonight. It's a moment that I hope we appreciate as sports fans, because it does. We may never pass this way again. This is maybe the only opportunity in your life to jump on the bandwagon first, to jump on the bandwagon as it's being constructed, to sit in an arena as the first game in franchise history is being played. We might get this opportunity twice in 10 years in Salt Lake City. If we get a Major League Baseball team, like a lot of us hope and think we will, you might get to be, and I will be one, and I will never let people get away from me without hearing about it if this actually happens. But, Alonzo, can you imagine how insufferable I will be in a sports kind of trivia situation if I'm the guy who gets to say, I was at the very first Utah Hockey Club game and the very first Utah Cutthroats Major League Baseball game?
Oh, you'll be so insufferable. Like, you'll be talking like you know more baseball than I do.
I'll be the worst.
Yeah.
But how exciting is that possibility?
And, I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. What I'm going to literally make happen is if we get a baseball team, I want you to throw out the first pitch in the first series. I mean, you know how tight I am with that group, right? So I'll call those people and be like, listen, Sean O'Connell needs to throw.
You should be the one throwing out the first pitch as an actual pitcher.
Because no one cares about me.
No one cares about me either. I just try to force that upon them by doing things like, hey, I was at the first Utah Hockey Club game and the first Major League Baseball game.
I can also see you making your own like soccer scarf that's like cut in half that says first Hockey Club game, first Cutthroats game. Just rocking that everywhere.
It was just like, what is that? Why do you have a custom scarf? Oh, I'm glad you asked.
Just rocking it at all times.
And I just start making stuff up. I was also at the first major championship when RSL took it down in 2009. You weren't there.
I'm going to introduce you as my friend Sean O'Connell was at the first Olympiad.
Yes. I don't know, man. I'm geeking out on this, and there's probably people rolling their eyes like, we get it, dude. We get it.
Myself included.
But we are at this point where it's not just like, oh, it's your first time to Disney and there's no impact on the rest of your life necessarily. You get to say you've been there. Like, this is a team we all get to grow with, and I really believe that this team is going to be excellent sooner than later.
Well, I also think for the market, it's great because we see what the Vegas Golden Knights did for Vegas. They have an NFL team now. They're going to get a Major League Baseball team, allegedly, and potentially an NBA team. So, I mean, granted, different demos, all that stuff, right? But it's huge for this market because it's going to show that this market can support more sports.
Yeah. Look, do I think we're ever going to get an NFL team? No. Could we support an NFL team if it came here? Yes.
Maybe we should adopt the Chargers because we don't want them in L.A.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Hey, I'm just here, just throwing out ideas, just riffing. Maybe we adopt the Chargers, who no one in LA wants them there anyway.
Problem is we don't have enough. We don't have a large enough number of billionaires who want to spend their money on pro sports franchise.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And yes, and also on the suites.
Yeah,
that cost $100,000 plus a game.
But maybe the Crumble guys. Maybe there's a few of them.
Okay. My guys, there's a supplement company in Utah that's on the rise right now, okay? They just signed Conor McGregor as an endorser for this company, all right? It's just like it's the entrepreneurial hub down there in Utah County, the Silicon Slopes or whatever. They've gone from the supplement space to the energy drink space. When these guys exit, when they sell, it's going to be in the Billy range. Okay,
so there'll be a few new money in there.
These are sports fans. When that happens, when those guys sell that company, I'm going to be blowing them up every single day. Be like, buy the Chargers, buy the Chargers, buy the Chargers. Hey,
right now,
you should buy the Chargers. You know what you should do? You should buy with all that money you got, Chargers. It's not going to happen. but you got me excited again because the possibilities are endless with this Utah Hockey Club team. And, of course, with this Salt Lake City market and a fan base and a community and a political atmosphere, even though I don't like to touch that kind of stuff, that is owner-friendly. It just is. For whatever reason, fiscal conservatives are like, yep, capitalism, baby. Let's go. I'll help you out. Bring some entertainment district money to my downtown.
Maybe we start a hedge fund to buy the Chargers. Maybe that's the move.
You're trying to draw me in on a tangent here?
I know, but I'm just thinking out loud how we can make that happen because you and I both like football, and they don't want the Chargers down there. What's more excited about you, the sport fan, Sean O'Connell, or the hockey fan, Sean O'Connell? Sport fan,
Sean O'Connell. The hockey fan, Sean O'Connell, has atrophied pretty badly over the years because since I worked in the Bay Area and I got to do Sharks games, got to go to Sharks games, cover them and stuff, when they were pretty good. And the Sharks have been kind of bad lately, and they were the team that I was, most interested in. And there's just not a hockey presence, has not been a hockey presence here. So I only watched the Stanley Cup, I only watched the playoffs, and I only watched the finals. And when it's teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning winning it, I'm just like,
not into it.
It doesn't excite. It hadn't excited me like it did when I was a kid. And you've only got so much bandwidth as an adult when you got kids of your own and you got 2 or 3 jobs and whatever else is happening. So the hockey fan in me was like shriveling and getting, I don't know, deteriorating. Now
it's back, baby.
Injected, baby. It's like, all right. It's like that plant that you leave out on your front porch and it never actually dies, but you look at it and you're just like, how does that have a green leaf on it? I haven't watered that thing in a year and a half. Well, now it got fertilizer. It got water. It's growing.
It's getting Shabuzi later, too.
Stop saying Shabuzi. I don't know what it means.
It's a country superstar. That's the name of a country superstar, Shabuzi. Free show out in front of the plaza today.
Good text coming in as I asked, what's a significant first that you remember either watching or being part of, being in attendance at in sports? Your favorite first, or maybe you were there at an actual first. Do you see how many people still wear their Salt Lake 2002 gear?
All the time. All the time.
That was an awesome first. I can't believe when you asked what my favorite one was, that one was up there for me. Going to an Olympics here at home was really, really cool.
My first Olympic event was, I didn't live here at the time, but I went to a hockey game here during the Olympiad. That was cool. I mean, personally for me, Clayton Kershaw's no-hitter, 2014. I was there. I've been to millions of Dodger games. That was rad. I know you hate baseball, but that's important.
Stop saying I hate baseball. Are you bothered that Kershaw's shut down, by the way?
No, I think it's for the best, if I'm totally honest.
He's terrible in the playoffs anyway.
Wow, I'm bothered by that.
He's an awful playoff pitcher anyway.
No, I mean, it's one of those where, as you know, Father Time is undefeated, and I think Father Time's just telling him, hey, man, you've made well for yourself. Maybe take a chill pill.
All right, we got to take a break because Gordy Chiesa is going to join us. We got basketball to talk about. We'll get his thoughts on the Utah Hockey Club. And look, Gordy has been part of some important firsts in sports, so I'll extend this question to him. But keep them coming at me. 877-353-0700 on the Dish Pros text line. A first that you remember or were part of or were in attendance for in sports that is a core memory. Opening segment of the Sean O'Connell Show is always brought to you by Alvi Armani and alviarmani.com. Gentlemen or ladies, if your hair is thinning, if you're worried about that hairline receding, don't worry about it anymore. Contact alviarmani.com and let them help you. Gordy Chiesa next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700. Gordy Chiesa swinging by to talk about this upcoming basketball season. Training camp underway. Utah Hockey Club starts their season tonight. Utah and BYU back in action this weekend. Utes on the road in Tempe against Arizona State. BYU hosting the University of Arizona. Big noon kickoff coming in town for that. Robert Saleh been fired by the Utah Jets. They're just by the New York Jets.
Wow.
That's subliminal. What that was me.
You're trying to will it into existence.
I'm trying to make Utah an NFL city.
The Utah Chargers.
An NFL state. The Utah Chargers a lot more likely than the Utah Jets. In any case, Gordy Chiesa swings by at GChiesa. Oh my! If you're not already following on Twitter, Gordy, how are you?
Sean, I'm doing fine. Remember now, I am a long-time suffering New York Jet fan.
I'm sorry to hear that, Gordy. So
trust me, you're exactly right. And all my colleagues back east, they're either crazy Giant fans or crazy Jet fans, and there's little joy the last few years.
Let's start there, actually, because as a Jets fan, I know you probably have a feeling or two about Robert Saleh getting fired. The innuendo, the suggestion, when you see something like this after what is at best a frosty relationship between the star quarterback and the head coach, is that, hey, maybe Aaron Rodgers just said it's time to move on from this guy, and ownership listens to somebody who they've invested a lot more in than they've invested in their head coach. I know that we've had this conversation with LeBron James before, and we've had this conversation with some big-time NBA athletes. What is the appropriate level of influence a megastar player should have over this level of over coaching decisions?
Season more in season should be more measured because you're playing right now, and the reason why it happens is that usually the player has a certain way he's going to perform, and even though this dual talent, and so that's unbelievable. I can mention for the economics, it's much easier to get rid of the coach or general manager than to get rid of especially the star quarterback, because we know in football the quarterback is everything. It's the most position in any sport that's the most influence of a game, and I'm understating that. So I could see why the Jets did it, and now they're back where they started from again. They're just going to try to piecemeal, I'm sure. And that's many teams also. You mentioned before about, LeBron James and other players. So it's interesting now. So now the flip side, Sean, let's segue to that, of the Lakers now. So now it's a new coach now, meaning J.J. Redick, and he's never coached a day before in his life now. So he's now as the helmsman of the Lakers, a storied franchise. So we'll see how it plays out.
And that's a good example of when a lot of people feel like he got that job because he was LeBron's guy, and he's an individual who's hosting with LeBron James, and all of a sudden gets the most desirable jobs in all of pro sports. Now, I think Redick's a really intelligent guy, and I think that he's probably got the respect of most players, and in the NBA that feels like it's most of the battle. You would have to tell me otherwise. I mean, it's easy to lose a locker room full of individuals who don't know anything about your career and don't feel like you know the game now or whatever, but JJ he wasn't away that long, and he never seemed to leave the NBA sphere. So do you think that experiment's going to work? Is that a guy who's going to resonate with everyone on the roster, not just LeBron?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Your point's well taken. He's an intelligent player. Also, he's a knockdown shooter. So shooting rules in the NBA. So all the young fellas that might not want to play defense, is that he'll get on them and be able to, because the one thing he did was the opposite. He could make shots. And that is the golden arc of every NBA player, the ability to look at my beautiful jump shot. Sean, there's former NBA players who became head coaches without any prior experience, even as an assistant, whether in college or international, since 2010. Here's a short list, Sean. Mark Jackson, Warriors. Derek Fisher, Knickerbockers. Jason Kidd, Nets/Bucks. Steve Kerr, Warriors. Steve Nash, Nets. And now J.J. Redick, Lakers. So objectively, Steve Kerr worked out tremendously. Jason Kidd, it took him really 3 teams. So now Nets, Bucks, and now the Mavs to work out. And Derek Fisher, no. Mark Jackson, yes. Mark Jackson was the person that set up Steve Kerr with the Warriors' success back in 2013 when he moved on. He had a problem with management, and I was part of it.
Here on the Sean O'Connell Show. We're talking basketball, I guess, technically, although it's really a coaching conversation at this moment. I did want to also ask you, since we're not hyper-focused on the NBA right this second, I did also want to ask you, with the Utah Hockey Club starting its franchise existence, its first season tonight at the Delta Center, I put the poll question out there of great firsts that people either watched or were a part of or were in attendance for as sports fans, maybe, someone who's been around basketball at the level you have for so long. I imagine you've been there for a very memorable first. You were there for the first game for a lot of really important players, especially in this Utah Jazz franchise history. But I give you the floor, Gordy, the sports first that stands out to you most.
Well, for me, because it was such a Utah Jazz tie, was in the New Orleans. The Jazz played in the new New Orleans team that moved there, and we played the first game ever in New Orleans as the Utah Jazz versus the New Orleans franchise. And they gave us memorabilia because of both organizations, and that was really unbelievable. So that was the first. The Jazz played the first time ever in New Orleans as the Utah Jazz versus the upstart New Orleans franchise now. That was really interesting.
Wow.
And we also won the game, too. It was even better.
That's pretty awesome. That's a cool first.
Yeah, very much also. And I remember Karolinko's first game for the Jazz, where this unbelievable Russian Comet, when he got in the game, he caused so much havoc. And so that was the first where in his career, because he sat out for 2 years, he played it in Moscow, and he came over after 2 years being drafted, and John and Carl was still on the team, and he was this young guy, that first ever, and he turned around everybody's eyeballs the way he played. If he played now in this era, he'd be a sensational player, meaning what? Blocking shots, dunking on people's noggins, scoring in transition, and it's a much more bouncy, athletic game versus old school where they can hold and grab you.
It was not a regular season game, but we saw LeBron and Bronny get on the court for the first time together, and that's technically NBA history. There's a complicated conversation around the fact that Bronny's even part of that roster, and he got an outsized contract and whatever else. What were your thoughts on seeing the father-son combination? We've seen it in baseball, we've seen it in hockey, but we've never seen it in basketball.
Yeah, never seen it in basketball. I think it shows a testimony of LeBron James to play at this level and still be in the top 15 players in the NBA. You can debate it whether it's even lower than that. Is that it's incredible. And now his son Bronny, and Bronny James, he knows how to play the game. He's picked number 55, and he'll be fine. He'll be in the G League during the season, and he should perform well. And he'll be in the NBA way past his dad retiring, LeBron. This is LeBron's 22nd year in the NBA, and it's amazing. So I think it's really a cool thing. It's a testimony to LeBron and also to Bronny as far as being a son listening to his dad. I think it's great.
So that was preseason basketball. We've got more preseason basketball this week. Tonight, tomorrow, Utah Jazz on the road on Thursday against Dallas. What are you looking for the Jazz in these preseason games? Besides the young players getting better each week, specifically, what do you want to see on film against Dallas?
Well, against Dallas, you want to see them keep playing defense. And they've made an effort to really defend the ball better, and they have. The first 2 games, the Jazz are 2-0, and they've done a good job as far as ball containing and rebounding by committee, and just generally speaking, being more gritty. And that's been very impressive. And also, speaking of being impressive, Isaiah Collier, who was a 29th pick of the draft, he's the guy that's really been good defensively. That he's a havoc player. He's rugged. He's like 6'5", and he's got a strong body, and he's around the ball. Just like in the NFL, Sean, who's around the ball when it's up in the air? And that's Isaiah Collier, and he's had 6 steals in the first 2 games, which has really been good. Now, when the Jazz play against the Mavericks, I wish that Luka Doncic would play, but he's not. They're holding him out with a left calf contusion, and so the Jazz aren't going to see against him, but they will play against Klay Thompson and that crew, so it should be good. So the question with the Jazz is always going to be right now, can they get better defensively? Because last year they suffered tremendously out, and they made an effort to do that. One more thing about the Jazz preseason. It's really been a blessing right now to see Johnny Juzang, who shot the ball very well. So far in three-point range, he's 7 for 9 in the first 3 games off the bench. So I'd say to Johnny, give me the hot sauce, because that's him right now shooting that ball, and he's carving out a space on the roster to be off the bench, flamethrower, and that's what the Jazz need also. So the two young guys have done a good job. We're waiting to see Cody Williams as far as some breakout moments. He's certainly talented. He's not shown it so far yet. And Taylor Hendricks, who was the first-round pick back in 2023, he's done a solid job as far as making open shots and, generally speaking, playing a lot more confidence.
For a team like the Jazz, who they don't have a deep, established veteran presence, but there are guys that you know what they are as players. How much do you need to see like a Jordan Clarkson in the preseason? Because I imagine it's important to develop chemistry with the young teammates, but also he's a veteran who might not even be on this roster at the end of the year. How do you handle a preseason for a veteran like Clarkson?
Like Larry Marketing and also Jordan Clarkson, both those guys, is that you play them in a regular you play them slightly in less minutes, but when they're on the court, they're the focal point. And so I mention this often about Keontae George's development, which is lockstep with also Larry Marketing. Sean, in the fourth quarter of a regular season NBA game, Larry Marketing shouldn't go more than 2 consecutive possessions of not getting the ball in space. And so it starts, though, in the preseason, is that you're very conscious of Larry Marketing when he's on the court, that you give the ball to him. And so that's what I'm watching right now. Jordan Clarkson also is the exact same way, because those guys, if they don't have the ball, their skill set is negated, not by them, but by not giving them the round ball in rhythm. And so that's what we're looking for as far as offensively to do that. For example, illustration would be shown last night's game. The Rockets had a hard time guarding Larry Marketing. Even though he didn't shoot well, he got to the foul line 13 times and made 11. And so because Jabari Smith could not guard him because of the way the Jazz used him as far as white screening action and flying off it, and the Rockets did a poor job defending it. The flip side, Larry Marketing did a good job as far as being escapability, as far as the setup, we call it, as far as cutting. So with that said, that's what I'm looking for, the little nuances that you have to do to be a successful team. And so far, defensively, done a good job. Offensively, still a work in progress.
Gordy, before I let you go, I know you usually have a list for me. You already gave me a little bit of a mini list, which means we got like a double list day potentially here. What do you have?
Okay, this list right now, Sean, I've been thinking about Vince Carter. Besides you, I might add. I'm thinking about Vince Carter and Sean O'Connell in the exact same moment.
Yes, we're very similar in a lot of ways.
Leaders in made 3-point shots. So as we start this season, the most career made 3-pointers. It's a crazy list as far as it. This is the 46th season of the NBA 3. Quickly, the 1979-80 season was the first year of the 3-point shot in the NBA. They stole it from that league called the ABA. Here we go. Number 10. And this is what I've coached one of these guys, and in the top 10 right now, there's 9 right-handers and only 1 southpaw. And you know, Sean, about southpaws, they get no respect. Number 10, Jason Terry, 2,282. Also, he's presently a Utah Jazz assistant coach. Number 9 all time, Vince Carter, half man, half amazing. That was his nickname. He made 2,290 career threes. Number 8, right on cue, LeBron James has made 2,410 triples. Number 7, he played for the Jazz for 4 seasons. He was an absolutely knockdown shooter. Kyle Korver made 2,450 triples. Number 6, mentioned earlier about him a few minutes ago, Klay Thompson, originally of the Splash Brothers, now of the Dallas Mavericks. He's 6th all-time. He made 2,481. Number 5, TNT, as we speak right now, all-time. He made 2,560. Number 4, the pride of Weber State and also Oakland, California, Dame Lillard has made 2,607 trifectas. Number 3, the only lefty on this list, James Harden, 3rd all-time, 2,940 made threes. Number 2, I had the privilege to coach this guy when I was with the Seattle Sonics as an assistant coach, Ray Allen, 2,973 made triples, and the number 1 shooter of all time as far as made three-point shots and absolutely keep ascending up is Steph Curry. Steph has made, it's crazy, he's made 3,747 threes. But Sean, what's crazy about this, he's a 42.6 three-point accuracy. So he makes 42.6 of threes, where everybody in the whole joint's trying to guard him on three-point shots. He can still make it. How great he is as a shooter. So it's an amazing list as far as the three-point shots. Last point about this, in Jazz basketball. Oh, by the way, Patty Mills, who's now the backup point guard of the Jazz, formerly of many teams, he's 48th in the all-time list of made threes with 1,520, and most of them were made off the bench. So let's hope that some of the Jazz players can learn from Patty as far as making threes as you enter the game.
Wow,
So
top 50 for Patty
that's my
Mills.
list of the day.
I never would have guessed top 50 Patty Mills. Last thing before I let you go, is that Steph Curry record, is that an unbreakable record? Is anyone ever going to catch him as the game has changed and emphasized the three-point shot? Can you foresee a time when there's another Steph Curry but better?
Yes, I do. Yeah, records are made to be broken. Sean, the only record I think might never be broken, I think, is Joe DiMaggio's record in baseball, a 56-game hitting streak. What do you think? The only one, am I leaving something out?
Yeah, I think Alonzo just came up with Cal Ripken's consecutive games played. No one even tries to go 2,000 games in a row anymore.
Okay, well said. Exactly. It's those two. Okay.
What about steals and assist records?
Okay, John. Yes, someday broken, someday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
I know. It's almost like blasphemy. It happens. But that 56-game hitting streak, and Alonzo's correct about that Cal Ripken Ironman streak, it's hard. Those might be the only ones not broken.
Another record that'll never be broken. Gordy Chiesa, consecutive appearances here on ESPN 700. We love him. You love him. That's Gordy Chiesa. Appreciate your time as always, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out. Thank you.
All right, the hot lunch is coming. A question from the text line. That's what we're going to do for the hot lunch. I didn't expect this at all today. 1095 says this, thought-provoking. Let's assume Isaac Wilson starts and wins these next 3 games. What if Rising can come back 80 or 90% against BYU? Do you continue with Wilson or do you start Rising? We'll answer that question in the hot lunch next on ESPN 700. Cam Rising. This is the guy that is the main reason why you're supposed to win a conference championship this year. He's brought you 2 Pac-12 championships, been hugely instrumental in those things. But you're talking about something a little bit different. You're talking about Isaac Wilson winning you 3 games in the interim, and important games, decently tough games, and maybe being in a groove. I'm going to cop out on this for the hot lunch, and I'm going to say this is totally dependent on how Isaac Wilson plays and wins. I know that's a bit of a cheat, but are you talking about Isaac Wilson winning these games by throwing for 6 touchdowns and 1 interception over the course of those 3 games? Or are you talking about Isaac Wilson doing a good enough job keeping the passing offense on life support while he hands the ball off to Mekhi Bernard and the offensive line wins you these games and the defense wins you these games? Is the offense scoring in the red zone? There's my answer, okay? We'd get around to it. There's my answer. If the offense is scoring in the red zone, then, yeah, you just keep going with Isaac Wilson. But I don't think that's a realistic possibility, not just because he's a freshman, but because of the way the whole team reacts to the whole situation, because of the playbook. Even as much as the coaches say you've got it all, you don't really have it all with Isaac, not yet. And the coaching staff alluded to this. Kyle Whittingham said this. Right now, their red zone offense is hovering in that 40-50% range. Cam Rising, when he's on the field, for better or worse, you're so dependent on that guy, but he's got you 25% higher than that. He's in that 75-80% touchdown scoring range in the red zone. You're getting points. I'm telling you, man, when Cam Rising's available, Cam Rising plays. All respect to Isaac Wilson. I think he's been fine. He hasn't been great, but he's learning on the job. He's been fine. Cam Rising is the dude. I don't foresee him being out another 3 games. I just don't. Right? I don't. Do you? I don't.
I don't. I mean, but then again, I don't know anything about anything anymore, Sean.
Yeah, we've been wrong before. The Hot Lunch is brought to you by Jersey Mike's. Every sandwich sliced right in front of you. Cheesesteaks made to order on the grill. So what are you waiting for? Jersey Mike's, a sub above. Get it with the juice. I'm feeling Italian today. That's where I would go.
That's not a bad move.
I'd walk in there and be like, hey, how you doing?
And then you get escorted out like you're Robert Saleh.
You got some of that gabagool. Don't bury the lead. We're going to talk Robert Saleh being walked out of the Jets building on the show coming up in like half an hour.
I'm verifying sources as we speak.
Okay. We have a new partner on the program. I guess not that new anymore. We've been running this thing for over a month now. Farmer and Chemist has been taking care of us, has been taking care of Alonzo, can take care of you as well if you're looking to handle pain, anxiety, sleeplessness. Check out the products they have down there. Jeff Dunn from Farmer and Chemist stopping by. Hi, Jeff.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing all right. What's the number one barrier to entry, so to speak, for people to get into this alternative medicine space and to start taking a look at CBD products and hemp products and things like that to maybe handle some of the maladies I was just talking about?
Oh, that is such an important question. I would say the biggest issues right now are still misperceptions about what CBD is and how it's different than cannabis or medical cannabis or marijuana. And also, I think it's important for people to know that not all CBD is created equal. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad actors in the space. And so people may have tried CBD in the past and it didn't work, probably because they were getting hemp seed oil or really low doses. And so it's really important to find a good, trustworthy source. And we want to be that source. I mean, we're pharmacists, we're chemists. We want to have conversations with people about what it's good for, what it's not good for, how to use it. So really, basically to increase the likelihood of it working for somebody.
You say not all products are created equal, and I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You're only even making available the finest products, the best stuff, the actually effective stuff down at Farmer and Chemist, right?
100%. So, for example, what the science shows is typically an average weight person needs to have a minimum of 25 milligrams for CBD to work. And then it goes up from there. So if you look at what's on the market in a lot of areas, there will be products that have 5 milligrams of CBD or no CBD. And so somebody's going to try that, and it's frankly, it's not going to work. And so our products are high concentration, high quality, all third-party tested, all registered with the state of Utah. And so if it's going to work, our products are going to work.
I'm looking at the brochure right now, and on that, what you just said, 25 milligrams of CBD is where that threshold is for most people. And the Yummy Gummies, 35 milligrams of CBD. So you look at it, plus the CBN also in there. You look at it, and it's just, you have to actually know. You have to, and if you don't have the knowledge, you got to go somewhere where they do have the knowledge. And because you are pharmacist directed and run down there at Farmer and Chemist, this is the answer for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you don't necessarily buy something, we are happy to have a conversation. We just want to educate. We want to clean this up, and we want to deliver efficacy and outcomes for people. And there's definitely an opportunity, but you have to buy from a trusted source and buy a high quality product in order for it to work.
And special offer for all of our ESPN 700 listeners, right?
Yes, mention ESPN 700, and you can do that either in the store in Midvale or online, and we will discount any purchase by 20%.
7719 South Main Street in historic Midvale, and, of course, farmerandchemist.com. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Alonzo alluded to it. Robert Saleh fired by the New York Jets. And not just fired, but escorted unceremoniously out of the building by the head of security. How ugly is this? And, of course, whose decision was it really? I want to talk about all that next on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700. Robert Saleh is out in New York. The former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, after 3 and some change seasons with New York.
3.5.
Fired. He gone. He's out. He will leave his head coaching experience with a losing record, at least for now. Good news, if you are looking for a high-quality defensive coordinator, he's really good at that job. Robert Saleh, if I'm the San Francisco 49ers, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm calling Robert Saleh and being like, we'll take you back. We got some problems here.
Who's the DC in San Fran right now?
What's his name? I don't even know his name. He's not great.
I know you hate him.
Sorensen. It's Nick Sorensen.
Nick Sorensen, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're not stoked with him.
Well, nobody is. You've got one of the most loaded defenses personnel-wise in the NFL, and nothing special is happening. Robert Saleh did some great things coordinating the 49ers defense. He hasn't done any great things as a head coach of the New York Jets. I'm of the belief that that's a cursed organization, and it's going to take a near miracle for them to turn things back around. We'll see what they want to do long-term. His defensive coordinator, by the way, their defense isn't very good. His defensive coordinator is the interim guy. And the reason that this even flies across the radar in Salt Lake City on such a big sports day is because it's part of a grander conversation about the influence players have over personnel decisions in the front office and with coaches. Aaron Rodgers is going to go on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow for his weekly appearance, and he's going to pretend like he did not fire Robert Saleh, that he did not call Woody Johnson and say, let's get this guy out of here so we can do it a different way. Now, is he the only reason? No. If you're winning more football games and if you have a better relationship with not just Aaron Rodgers, but every player on your roster, and you hadn't already broken one high draft pick quarterback, you're probably a little bit safer in Robert Saleh's position. But this is clearly, at least partially, a product of the Aaron Rodgers influence. And it's so funny when you see the breaking news headline on ESPN or on Sports Illustrated or wherever you get your sports news, you have this imagery of Aaron Rodgers shoving Robert Saleh away from him when Saleh tries to give him a hug after a touchdown, after a positive moment, after a good thing for the New York Jets. So clearly that relationship was never solid, was never good, and it's a lot easier, as we talked about with Gordy Chiesa, it's a lot easier to move on from a coach than it is to move on from a franchise cornerstone player. And this is not just true in the NFL. This is true in the NBA. I think NBA players actually have the most profound influence. As we get to know the NHL a little bit more, I mean, Connor McDavid can probably call whoever he wants and be like, I need this guy fired.
Sidney Crosby probably can too.
I mean, and Sidney Crosby is more analogous to Aaron Rodgers because it's been a while since Sidney Crosby won a cup, and it's the twilight of his career in hockey, most likely. And that's the veteran status you have, but it's also the sort of timeline you're dealing with here. Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the NFL for 2 more years, maybe.
Well, and even then, right? Like, I feel like, alluding to your point, that the Jets' problem is a bit. Robert Saleh's the fall guy, right? Like the organizational chaos there, from everything from how they handled Zach Wilson to even Sam Darnold, who's just tearing. The irony of this is they lost to the fighting Darnolds in London. He just goes out there and just tears them apart. And then a couple days later, Robert Saleh's fired. But like the organizational chaos there at some point, you see it in other sports, right? Where at some point ownership needs to look in their face, in the mirror and just be like, yo, what are we doing here? I mean, at some point, that's what has to happen. I also don't feel bad for Jets fans, though. I don't.
Just because they've chosen to follow the Jets? Why don't you feel bad?
Correct.
Okay.
Years of abuse. It's like if you choose to be a Raider fan, you know what's coming with that. Nothing will hurt you because you're a Raider fan.
Who's a more cursed NFL franchise right now? Is it the Jets or the Carolina Panthers?
Ooh. The Carolina Panthers are their own cluster.
All right, hold on. You are Shedeur Sanders. The Jets and the Carolina Panthers are the first two teams up to draft you. Which one are you saying no to? Which one are you like, all right, fine, I'll go there?
Can I do an Eli Manning and say no to both?
You can.
Then that might be the only.
What's the statute of limitations on how many NFL teams you could say, no, you can't draft me to?
I don't think there's a precedent. So I think, in my opinion, just say no to both of them and just see what happens. I mean, either you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, if you really think about it. Because ultimately, like, there's so many problems in New York. And I'm sure Aaron is also looking at it like, ooh, maybe that ayahuasca that I was consuming did not give me the right frame of mind.
My darkness retreat did not have bear the results that I was hoping for.
They got you darkness, my guy, but not the kind you wanted.
It's just such a weird situation. Again, Robert Saleh, I'm not here to defend him in any way. He has a terrible record as a head coach. There are plenty of coordinators out there who just can't do the head coaching job. And you make your own bed when you go to play or you go to work for the New York Jets in a lot of ways, especially as a defensive-minded head coach. And you go to a place where the scrutiny is going to be incredibly intense, especially on an offensive game. And then, of course, you draft a quarterback in the first round, and you ruin that kid. And he's, barely hanging on to an NFL roster because his confidence is so broken, partially because of how you handled that situation. So I'm not here to, apologize for Robert Saleh. But it feels very clear that there is a tacit agreement between Aaron Rodgers and all the decision makers above him that, hey, I'm going to have some influence in this. We'll find out when the Jets announce a permanent head coach, really how strong that influence is.
I mean, if you think about it, the reason you pick Carolina is because you're not going to have the media scrutiny that you would have in New York.
That's absolutely right.
Like that's really the only pro.
And I used to think that was kind of overblown. I used to be a believer, you're a professional athlete. Go play in New York, go play in LA, go play in Chicago, or go play in Carolina, whatever. You're a pro athlete. You're on TV. It's going to be fine. That's not how it works, man.
No.
Pro athletes are fragile creatures mentally sometimes. And when there are 100 voices shouting about what a disappointment you are in Charlotte, North Carolina, that's hard to deal with. When there are 10,000 voices shouting about how disappointing you are in New York City, and when you turn on SportsCenter in the morning, and because you play for the Jets, you're the leading story, where that's never the case if you're in Carolina.
Oh, no.
That's a different deal.
Or even right now, right? Like the Giants and the Jets are both there's a lot of parity there, right? In the amount of suck. But for different reasons. But they're both, even in their respective media markets, it's them and the Yankees and the Knicks right now. Like those are your top. And right now, you know damn well what's being litigated in New York over those airwaves is how what do we do here? What do we do now? And it's not like that's an attractive job if we're being completely honest either. There's so many other Nathaniel Hackett. We haven't even talked about that guy.
You know who's going to be the head coach of the New York Jets in 2025?
Aaron Rodgers.
Deion Sanders.
Oh, wow. That's from the cheap seats. But that is, I could absolutely see Woody Johnson doing that. Absolutely.
Be like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to draft your kid. We're going to hire you.
And we're going to draft your other kid.
And then Shiloh's going to be a 6th-round draft pick. And we're going to help him resolve that bankruptcy case and the other charges. And then we're going to see what you can do. Now, I'm here for that. How realistic is it will actually happen? I don't know. But
at least the Deion aspect is realistic.
Do I want to see it happen? That would be the greatest of all media circuses.
Oh, dude. If it's anything like it's been in Denver, I would ask to be flown out to just cover that.
I just would. Can you imagine the Jets media days when Coach Prime is just combative as hell with every Big J journalist who's working for a major New York City outlet, plus all of the national people that are going to be right there in the heart of things in New York City. And anytime a bad word is said about the New York Jets, he's just like, I'm pulling your credential. And they're just like, you can't, dude. Sorry.
Could you imagine him just being combative with like WFAN, just all these guys that have been there since the last time they were in the playoffs?
If Dion got hired to be the New York Jets head coach, like Mike Francesa would come out of radio retirement.
Yeah, 100%.
The godfather of terrible sports talk radio.
Yeah, 100% would. I mean, and
Mad Dog would go back. He would leave ESPN. He would leave Sirius XM. He'd go back to doing like local radio in New York because it would be that fun of a show.
He would not cover baseball anymore because that's how much chaos there'd be.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Deion Sanders will be the next real head coach of the New York Jets.
So let's just say hypothetically that's not feasible for a concoction of reasons. Who could they really go out and get right now to be the head coach of that franchise?
Your boy Lincoln Riley.
I mean, that's the other guy I was thinking, but that's going to be an expensive get.
No, it's not an expensive get because you absolutely – that's a loss as soon as you make that phone call if you're the New York Jets.
Yeah.
Because he's 5-7 in his last 12 games at USC.
And he's going to be expensive on top of that.
He's making between $10 and $12 million right now at USC.
But I'm saying they'd have to buy it out.
Correct. And everyone would hate that hire immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately.
Here's my theory currently I think it's going to be Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh.
That'd be the smart hire.
Would it, though?
Well, in theory it would.
No, I don't think. Okay. I have to push back on this. Cliff Kingsbury never should have been an NFL head coach.
I agree with that.
Never should have been.
I agree with that.
Cliff Kingsbury got fired from Texas Tech and somehow fell upwards to being the Arizona Cardinals head coach. In the same cycle,
yes,
he was a coordinator for 5 minutes at USC. And then they were just like, just kidding. Like, he literally didn't even turn in his new hire paperwork.
Yeah, I think it was like the week of.
Yes. The announcement was made that he was going to join the staff at USC, and then the announcement was made that he was now the Arizona Cardinals head coach because he was going to be the Kyler Murray whisperer.
And that really panned out.
He is a Ryan Gosling lookalike who is in a better situation, and he's got to know this for himself. He's in a better situation as an assistant coach. Now, is it realistic that he would turn down a head coaching opportunity, especially one in New York? Absolutely not. He would take it in a heartbeat. But that's not like the best recipe for success. As much as we like to mock the Jets because they're just an absolute mess, you can't be making hires based on the sexy name or the high-profile thing. You got to go find like the most boring quality candidate that you can.
So I'm going to throw this one out there. I don't think it's realistic, but I'm sure he's on the list. And as you know, there's been a little bit of chaos at his current team. Sean McVay.
That's an interesting one. I think no.
I think no too.
I don't think McVay would leave LA.
No, he's pretty cozy.
And that is not an accursed franchise, although he might, you never know, because there are a lot of guys who don't want to be coaching or playing for a place that doesn't have fans.
Yeah. No, and that's 100% true.
Like where you never have support in your own building. That might be exhausting for Sean McVay. I really don't know.
Like your cousin Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota would I assume be on that list, but they're not. There's no way he's going to leave the Minnesota Vikings. There's no way.
I mean,
but again, money talks.
The Jets own a Brinks truck. They could back up.
Literally.
So, again, Aaron Rodgers is out, or excuse me, Robert Saleh is out, we think because of the Aaron Rodgers influence, or at least partially because of the Aaron Rodgers influence. Where do you go next if you're the Jets? It's a larger conversation in sports than just that New York market. This is, what do you do when one of your star players doesn't like your head coach, or if that relationship gets fractured? What do you do?
You escort him out with security.
Wow.
That's, bro, And the crazy part is,
have you ever been escorted out of a building by security?
For a job, no.
I have.
I do know this story. I don't know if we can talk about. Is the statute of limitations up?
I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
Because it might have been escorted out of this building.
My favorite part about the story, though. Hey, can I go get this thing of mine? No. Okay. All right.
You know, you couldn't actually stop me if I wanted to, right?
Yeah. But you were the bigger man.
You got to try and take a high road once or twice in your life. I don't do it very often, but in that case, I did.
That day you did.
Yeah.
And
You want to know why?
And you're a better man because of it.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because I knew someday I'd be driving around in an Ineos Grenadier.
Oh.
You like that transition?
Well done. Well done.
Look, I don't know if you've seen these things driving around. Aesthetically, the Ineos Grenadier is a spectacular work of art. Got that boxy utilitarian appearance. It looks like an old safari vehicle. Inside, they've gotten rid of the non-essential bells and whistles. You don't need a microphone to talk to the folks in the back seat. You don't need fancy felt headliners in the car. What you need is a performance 4x4 vehicle with available locking differentials and all the essentials to get you going on the winter roads, in the off-road situation, to climb the Red Rock, whatever it is you're looking for from a functional utility vehicle at about half the price point of those crazy luxury sport utility vehicles. They've got the full lineup of models. They've got all the colors out at Warner Ineos Grenadier, WarnerIneosGrenadier.com to check out everything that's available. Go check them out, 2400 South, 5600 West in West Valley. Tell them OC sent you. Schedule a test drive today. I'm telling you, you just feel cooler when you're driving in this car. Maybe it's because I've never been like a fancy car guy, and I've never gotten the second looks, and I've never got the people rolling down the windows and being like, hey, what is that? When did you get that? Is that thing brand new? Where's it from? I drove the car for less than 24 hours, and I was already getting that. You can do it too. Ineos Grenadier, WarnerIneosGrenadier.com. Tony Jones is going to join us in 15 minutes. Up next, some questions have come in on the text line regarding this Utah football situation. We have sound from practice. The bye week is in the books. Cam Rising's supposed to be back after the bye week, right? Not so fast. We'll get there on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700. Tony Jones of The Athletic going to join us in about 13 minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Talk a little Utah Jazz in training camp, the NBA coming up. Maybe some hockey. Utah Hockey Club starts their season tonight at the Delta Center. You probably already have the sweater. You probably already have the gear. But maybe you're still looking for that perfect piece for the home office, that commemorative puck, for example. Well, Nyko Sports got you hooked up. Bob Ibach joins us to talk about a very special offer for this inaugural Utah Hockey Club season. Bob, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. Nice to be with you again. And, I'm kind of pumped because, I make my home here in the Chicago area. And, of course, the Utah Hockey Club is making their debut tonight over at the Delta Center against the Blackhawks. And I'm interested to see just how well the Utah Hockey Club is. You got to mesh together very quickly in just a few exhibition games. But, of course, some of those guys have come over from the Arizona team. So they should be – I think they'll be set to do a pretty good job because the Blackhawks have struggled. And but for Utah Hockey Club fans, you're going to want to get this item I'm going to talk about. It's a 2-puck set. They're only going to make 2,024 of these. Each of these individual pucks comes with their own display case. It's an acrylic display case with a gold base. They're limiting it to only 2,024 puck sets, and we're already halfway sold out coming into the debut game tonight. They're priced at $79.95 each. You'll get an individually numbered certificate of authenticity. And the first puck, I'll describe that in the second one, then I'll give out that toll-free number how you can order. The first one is a Utah Hockey Club official National Hockey League game puck. This is the real deal. Everything is fully licensed. The second puck that you'll get, one side of it, it'll have the inaugural season logo, the date of the first game, October the 8th, at the Delta Center right there, and it says against the Blackhawks. And then on the flip side, we've got the entire roster, all the guys that are on the 2024-25 team for the Utah Hockey Club, all listed there. So this becomes a very historic piece of sports memorabilia. It'll never be issued again. Here's how you can go ahead and order these, and they make by the way, Sean, they make a great Christmas or holiday gift because you can split them up and put them in the stockings, give one to one person and one to the other, or you can make them, give them a whole set and get a couple sets. The toll-free number to order these is 1-800-345-2868. 1-800-345-2868. I encourage people also go to the website. You'll see just how stunning this puck set looks. It's NIKOsports.com, NIKCOsports.com. That's NIKCOsports.com, and you can easily order it there, and you'll get that numbered certificate of authenticity. This is going to make people who get it put up in their office or in their home. I guarantee you, people will walk in and their eye will catch this puck set. It's really, really sharp looking.
They look great, and of course, celebrating a great moment in Utah sports as the Utah Hockey Club drops the puck in the regular season for the very first time tonight at the Delta Center. Bob, thanks for your time.
Hey, Sean, it's always good to visit with you. I hope you have a pleasant day, and hope you enjoyed that game tonight.
Going to be a fun one at the Delta Center, and it is the Chicago Blackhawks, who have some talent but are very beatable, so hoping for a win in the inaugural game for Utah Hockey Club. Alonzo, I just ran a little check, little reference.
What's that?
How much do you think the get-in price is for the first game in club history?
Oh, man. That's a tough one because NHL tickets in some markets are pretty pricey and in some they're not. I'm going to go $275.
You know what? I thought it would be somewhere in that range. If you don't have tickets right now and you don't mind being in the upper bowl and maybe a little bit of a partial view because some of the sight lines are a little bit touched.
Oh, yeah.
$100.
That's not bad.
$97.
For an inaugural game, that's not bad.
Lower bowl, $160.
That's also not bad.
For a lower bowl ticket, that's great.
If I didn't have the coaches show tonight, I'd honestly go.
That is, I'm excited that I get to be there, but I thought the get-in price was going to be a lot worse for the first game in franchise history. See you out at the Delta Center tonight. All right. Little Utah football conversation quick. Pardon me. We're going to get Tony Jones here in about 6-7 minutes. Cam Rising, the assumption was, and we shouldn't assume at all, the conversation was he'll be back after the bye week. He'll be back after the bye week. Now there's these rumblings that no, he's still not going to be ready, still not going to be back. And Isaac Wilson could potentially again be your starter against Arizona State. Now, we're going to play some sound for you on the show today. I'll probably save it for hour number 3 just to make sure we have enough time to do it justice. About that situation developing. Hey, are you the starter this week? I don't know if I was at the media availability yesterday, and I kind of feel bad that I pressed the young man because he's 18 and a half years old, whatever he is. You really don't know if you're the starter? You don't have to tell me. You really don't know if you're the starter or not? Like, you're 3 days ahead of the game. You really not know? And he gave the very mature, the very diplomatic answer. I got to prepare like I am QB number 1 no matter what. I have a genuine question right now about how many people in the building know whether or not Cam Rising is going to be the starter on Friday night.
I know Makai talked a little bit about like what's out there on social media, and we'll get to that sound a little later. Is it one of those things where you feel like the pressures just now, like external noise pressures, is starting to mount?
If you're this Utah football team, it's kind of a perfect scenario if you're on this coaching staff that you didn't really have an easy time developing a chip on the shoulder coming into your first season in the Big 12 Conference, where everyone was just like, oh, yeah, your roster's good, seventh-year quarterback who's incredible, an all-conference candidate. You guys are going to win this whole thing. It's really hard to go in and create that bulletin board material when everyone's telling you how great you are, right?
Yeah.
The difficulty then becomes, hey, don't read your own press clippings. Hey, like, let's not pay too much attention to this. Guys, stay the course, stay focused, prepare the right way, et cetera, et cetera. If you're a coach, you don't love that. You're just like, oh, my gosh, I need something to feed these guys. They have it now. The University of Utah has it now. They have the fodder they need for that bulletin board material. Your own fan base questioning your toughness. Your own fan base questioning the loyalty of to the cause. Your own fan base firing arrows in your direction, and at the coaching staff starting to question how they handle these situations. If you needed a galvanizing point to rally around, this Utah fan base, the vocal minority of the Utah fan base, has created that for the team. That became clear at practice yesterday. Mekhi Bernard, Brant Keithy, even Isaac Wilson all made some comments about it. Like, you just got to, like, come on. These people don't know what they're talking about. But you maybe needed that. This coming off a loss like the Arizona one that left everybody so frustrated and really caused everyone to start spilling over the frustrations they have about this Cam Rising situation that is now halfway through its second consecutive year. People just got mad, real mad, and started directing that ire instead of at the situation, at the players and the coaches and at Cam Rising specifically. And make no mistake, Cam Rising's teammates love Cam Rising. Cam Rising's teammates do not question Cam Rising's toughness the way that you do. Now, I'm sure there's frustration amongst his teammates about whether or not you're going to have the best version of this team and whether or not he's going to be available, but they know more than we do. And either this coaching staff has created the most tight-lipped organization in the history of sports, or there is genuine uncertainty about who the starter is going to be. Which of those two things is it?
I mean, the latter, no.
There's genuine uncertainty.
Yeah.
And trying to ask a guy who's maybe going to start his fifth game or maybe not,
Allegedly.
On a Tuesday, I guess that was a Monday. On a Monday,
yeah.
Hey, are you going to start? Do you know if you're going to start? Don't tell me if you're going to start. Do you know one way or another if you're going to start? And he can't give you a direct answer. That is complicated for a team because it's either he's telling you the truth, I don't actually know, which is really hard to deal with, or he's giving you the political answer, I do know who's going to start. It's going to be me, and I just can't tell you that. Or I do know who's going to start. It's going to be the other guy, and you're talking to me for some reason.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I'm starting to think Cam Rising's not going to start.
I mean, if you just look at it from an optics standpoint, you made Isaac Wilson available. That's why I would assume the starter would be, right?
Well, we made that assumption a couple weeks ago. Cam Rising usually didn't do a media availability if he was not available to play. He did media availability 2 weeks back and said the hand was feeling good. And then he was shot putting the ball in pregame, and everyone was like, oh, guess what? Maybe this is not – the hand is not as healthy as it needs to be, and we'll see if this job can get done without Cam Rising on the field. And thankfully, team played well enough, and Isaac got the job done, and I guess that was 3 weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago. 2 games ago, 3 weeks ago. So, look, I say pump the brakes not so fast on the assumption that everything's going to be just fine. I'm simultaneously flummoxed and impressed by how tight-lipped the entire team is over the situation. Like, there's nobody out there publicly being like, man, I'm sick of this. I just want to know. Only fans doing that, not players. It's incredible. That's part of our Big 12 at noon. Big 12 at noon is brought to you by Mountain Land Supply. Go to mountainlandsupply.com. Check out the new showroom as well. Great stuff. And great questions coming in on the text line at 877-353-0700. All right, time to check in with Tony Jones on the other side. Tony Jones of The Athletic, covering the Utah Jazz, covering the Denver Nuggets. We'll ask him about a memorable first that he was either in attendance for or that he witnessed in honor of the Utah Hockey Club dropping the puck for the first time tonight. Sean O'Connell Show on a Tuesday. It's ESPN 700. Sean O'Connell Show is joined now by Tony Jones of The Athletic, Utah Jazz, and NBA insider. Friend of the program, I hope. Tony, how are you?
My guy, how are you, man? Good to talk to you.
Yeah, been too long, honestly. I'm a little embarrassed that it took us so long to get you on the show. That's my beat. That's a flag on us. That's a 5-yard penalty, illegal procedure for not immediately reaching out to Tony Jones for all things. It is the first game in franchise history, as you're well aware, for Utah Hockey Club tonight. And I asked the general question today for everyone out there. I wanted to pass it on to you. Were you in the building for a significant first, even if it's only significant for you, like a first that you got to watch either in person or maybe on television that is still a sports core memory for you?
So it would have to be a first, like a first.
Well, even if it's just your first. So for me, like the example that we were using, I got to be present for some of the first for the Olympics in 2002. I was a high school senior in Utah, first time that Salt Lake had hosted the Olympics, and that was a sports core memory for me. Randomly, I was in the building for Chuck Knobloch's first career hit when he was starting it out in Major League Baseball. I don't know why I remember that because I'm not even a big Chuck Knobloch fan, but it is what it is. So were you present for one, or were you watching on TV when you were like, that's a moment, and I'm not going to forget it?
Let's see. That's a really, really good question. Shockingly enough, I was not in the building for Kobe's last game because I was on the Jazz beat then.
Wow.
But we, I think my colleague, I think it was either Kyle Goon or Aaron Falk, actually took that trip. So I was not in the building for Kobe's last game, which obviously he scored 60. I got a good one. I was in the building last year for LeBron's 40,000 point.
Wow.
I was in Los Angeles. I was covering the Nuggets last year, and I was in the building. I recorded it. It's on my Instagram page. He scored over Michael Porter Jr. Yeah, I was in the building for that. So that was a good one. I was in the building for LeBron James when LeBron James scored his 40,000 point.
Well, as long as we're on the LeBron James train for just a second here, history was made very recently when he and his son took to the court together for the first time. We haven't seen that in the NBA, and I get it. There are people out there who are like, this preseason, you're not going to see this in the regular season. Everyone believes in LeBron, not so much belief in his son, obviously. Where do you stand on the father-son duo for the Lakers?
Well, I'm one of the guys who thinks that Bronny's going to play in the NBA for 10 years because I think he's got all of the traits of a classic 3-and-D guard. And he's because he's LeBron's son, he's going to get a lot of chances. But that being said, he's really far away right now. Like, I think defensively, he's much closer to an NBA player than not. But offensively, he's about 2 or 3 years away. So he's going to have to develop a lot offensively. But he's a really, really good athlete, even by NBA standards. And he's a terrific defensive player, and he's a unique defensive player in terms of I think that he can be a defensive playmaker. He reminds me a lot of Gary Payton II. So it's going to take, but I think it's going to take 3 or 4 years for him to pop. So, the hope for me is that, they don't rush that. And, he spends all of this year in the G League, all of next year in the G League, just kind of developing his game, and then just kind of see where that happens. See what happens after that, but in terms of, the father-son the father-son moment. I mean, it's really cool, especially as a father who, for me, I have a daughter that's, trying to go into journalism, so it's, when you have your offspring kind of in the same line of business as you are, it's really, an emotional thing. So I'm sure it's emotional for LeBron James. I'm sure it's kind of embarrassing for Bronny on some levels, but I do think that it's a really cool thing.
Did you encourage your daughter to get into journalism, or did you try to lead her away from your field of work?
I absolutely did not encourage her to go into journalism, but she's a lot better looking than I am, so she's going into television. She wants to be in front of the camera, and the camera absolutely loves her, and she's beautiful, and she's really, really talented. So I really hope the best for her.
Tony Jones, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking all things hoop. So let's focus in on this Utah Jazz team. You're embedded, covering closely as they get into training camp in the preseason and whatnot. And it's an interesting era for Jazz basketball because, they made the decision that I thought was the right one to extend Lauri Markkanen, to keep him in town. But it kind of puts you in this weird hinterland, this sort of Goldilocks zone of you're not bad enough, and you're not going to get that top of the lottery pick, potentially not, at least on this roster on paper. I don't think that they will generate that kind of a win-loss record. But I wanted to get your thoughts on how this really lays out for the Utah Jazz as they try to develop everybody and make sure that this team learns how to win. The young core develops some chemistry and creates some magic together, but not too much.
I think I think there are a couple of things at play here. I think that, in a vacuum, you can look at this team on paper and say, hey, this team is fully capable of winning 35 games. And if this team wins 35 games, guess what? That's too many games, right? That's too many wins by about at least 10. And I think, obviously you can deduce that from, having Colin Sexton, having Lauri Markkanen, obviously, having Jordan Clarkson, all three of your guys in the rotation. So, if you let's say you start at that baseline, let's say you started 35 and 47, which gets you roughly the 10th or 11th pick in the NBA draft, which in this draft you want to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do, right? Like, you have to, instead of playing Jordan Clarkson 30 minutes, you have to probably play him 23 minutes a night. Instead of playing Colin Sexton 30 minutes a night, you probably should play him 26, 25 minutes a night. In those times where Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson are off the floor, you should really be experimenting. So, Cody Williams, go play the 2 for 5 minutes of this game. John Collins, guess what? We know you're good enough to start, but Walker Kessler's gonna be our starting center. Let's have for 2 or 3 minutes. Let's have Taylor Hendricks, kind of doing some on-ball creation. Okay, so you do all of that stuff, then all of a sudden, those margins that determine wins and losses, they turn into a bunch of losses. They might turn into a bunch of 6 to 8 point losses, but they're going to turn into a bunch of losses, right? So, towards the end of February, well, guess what? Lauri Markkanen injured his hamstring. He's out for 3 weeks. Just little subtle things that can turn a 35 to 37 win season into a 23 to 25 win season. And, I actually asked Lauri this for a story that I did, that came out last week. And, and he said, hey, players go out and players try to win games. So when we're on the floor, we're going to try to win games. And he's absolutely correct. So what loses games when you want to lose? Front offices do. So, I think that you're going to see, especially at the beginning of the year, I think you're going to see, a lot of, we're going to play hard. We're going to go out. We're going to try to win games. But the two things at play is you can always do things with the roster that that changes the margin from wins to losses, or changes the margin from losses to wins. And the second thing is, I think the West is really, really, really deep and really, really good. If this were a regular season game last night, the Jazz would have lost to the Rockets by 20 points. The Rockets are like the 11th best team in the Western Conference. And, they're no disrespect to them. They're really talented. They have the goal, rightly or wrongly, of making the playoffs. But there are a lot of really good teams in the West. And, that's who, if you're the Utah Jazz, you're going to play the most of your games against. So, I think that if you gave the front office truth serum, they want to finish with one of the 5 worst records in the league, so they have a credible shot at either Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper, one of those 3 guys. And, and I think that, at the end of the day, you're going to see moves made to where, that's the goal that the front office wants to reach.
All right, before I let you go, because we're up against the clock here, because I'm terrible at my job, is that an easy thing for players to handle? You said what Lowry mentioned. When we're on the floor, we're trying to win games. These are intelligent adults that know, hey, this front office is building more for the future than they are for right now in this season. I'm supposed to go out and I'm supposed to do my job, but they are going to limit my ability to compete and win in a sport where that's the whole point. Does it threaten chemistry? Can you simultaneously create what you need for that bright future while also asking guys to, kind of compromise their competitive beliefs?
I think that, obviously, these guys are going to go on the floor and they're going to try to win, and they're going to try to win games. But at the same time, I think in the back of their mind, they know what this year is about. And I think that, they know that this year is about setting themselves up for, the future, the 2025 NBA draft, which I can tell you, this is legitimately one of the best draft classes that I have ever evaluated. And I put a lot of pride into putting a lot of work into evaluating draft classes. This is hands down one of the best draft classes I've ever evaluated. So it's a good draft class to have 3 first-round picks in. If you're Colin Sexton, if you're Jordan Clarkson, those 2 guys, if you're John Collins, those 3 guys specifically, I think it's a little difficult because I don't know, especially Jordan Clarkson and John Collins, I don't know that they're a part of what the Utah Jazz are building for the future. Mm-hmm. And I think that they know that on some levels. Colin Sexton, I think he has real fans in the front office. I think he's got a real fan in his coach. He's actually got a real fan in me, just watching how hard he's worked to become a better player every single day. But, even on some levels, when you're looking at Colin Sexton, how much do you want him on the floor if you really don't want to win games? So that's why I kind of put him in that group with Jordan and John. I think Lowry knows exactly what the deal is, and, he's locked in. And, if Lowry has to go through a 17-win season, and guess what? He's playing with Cooper Flagg next year, then I think that in the long run, Lowry will be fine. But, if I look at Jordan Clarkson, I look at John Collins, I look at those guys as the 2 guys that I think it could be a little difficult for, just simply because of where they are in their career, the fact that, those guys are still significant level rotation guys and, if not starters, even at this point in their careers. And, it's just the train's just going a little bit different for the Utah Jazz than they are in their careers.
It'll be something, I think, to keep a close eye on as this season starts and then progresses. Tony, let's make this a more regular thing. It's always great hearing from you, my friend.
Thank you, my guy. I appreciate you, and thanks for your patience with me. I appreciate you.
That is Tony Jones, Utah Jazz and NBA insider over at The Athletic. Just an absolute font of knowledge, and he will tell you how great he is in the pickup games. Don't believe him, all right?
It's all lies.
I actually don't know. I think he's actually decent at hoop, and I'm the wrong person to judge because you invite me to play pickup basketball, it's not going well for anybody.
You're just going to hack a shack everybody?
Correct. I fouled out of every Little League basketball game I was ever in.
You had the line of 0 points, 1 assist, 0 rebounds, 5 fouls.
Hey, come on. I would get at least like a steal, a block, a couple of rebounds, maybe 2 points. I'd be like, I don't know, 2 for 17 from the stripe, and then I'd foul out in the third quarter.
So what you're saying is if you were to be a stat line on any sort of fantasy website, including our friends over at Underdog, everyone would have to take the below.
Take higher than on fouls and below on points.
On everything else.
On everything else, including minutes, because I was fouling out of that game. If you're not already playing Underdog Fantasy, let me flex on you just a little bit. I told you about my cash pick'em this week. I stacked 4 cash pick'em on top of each other, right? I needed for Travis Kelce to go higher than 56.5 yards in the Monday Night Football game.
And how did it go?
On the app, the pick turns green, and that means we're cashing, baby.
Hey.
You can sign up now. Underdog has a simple-to-use mobile app. That's my recommendation. You can also do it online at UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code OCShow. Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus $1,000 in bonus cash you could win when you make your first deposit. OCShow, again, is the promo code. And that's all you do. You take players, your favorite players, your least favorite players, players you believe in or players that you don't. You take higher than or lower than the stat totals that Underdog has set for the week and for the matchup. It was Kittle. It was James Conner. It was Caleb Williams. And then last night on Monday Night Football, it was Travis Kelce who went higher than the required stat totals. And here we are, feeling good about a win on a Tuesday.
So lunch is on you.
Well, let's not get too crazy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And guess what? I can play Underdog Fantasy on the Utah Hockey Club's first game tonight. Higher or lower than on Logan Cooley totals, on Sergachev totals.
Keller.
This on Clayton Keller totals. This is what we're talking about. Underdog Fantasy, you can play MMA, you can play NFL, you can play college football. OC Show, that's the promo code. Get yourself a free cash pick'em entry when you sign up. You must be 18 or over, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates, and terms do apply. If you're concerned about your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit npcgambling.org. Robin Leano to talk the debut of this Utah Hockey Club season next on the Sean O'Connell Show. Nate and the whole crew over there are going to give you $2,500 off 10 windows or more if you call right now or go to advancedwindows.com. 801-850-9100. Tell them that OC sent you. Get on the schedule. Take advantage of the discount. Beautify your home. Make it more energy efficient. Take advantage of the tax credits that come with that. AdvancedWindows.com. Great stuff from them, as always. And, by the way, it's a one-stop shop, so you're never going to get the runaround and the markups and all that craziness. It's just better. Advanced Windows. Give them a shout-out. All right. Utah Hockey Club dropping the puck tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. That's at 8 o'clock at the Delta Center. We expect to see all of you there getting loud. The lines are going to be long as people try to take advantage of the discounted concessions. The new prices, $3 and $2 concessions on all the staples. And, of course, everyone's got to freshen up the gear, myself included. Got to get that Utah Hockey Club gear. So it's going to be a night at the Delta Center. Robin Leano is the host of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast and kind enough to give us a few minutes here as this season starts. Robin, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks. It's a great day to be a hockey fan.
I mean, I've been a Utah sports fan for a very long time. I moved to this state when I was 9 years old, and that was 32 years ago now. And I've never gotten to experience a first like this. Never before have we had an opportunity to welcome a brand new franchise in a long-established league. RSL came in as part of Major League Soccer, but that was kind of a new venture. The league itself was pretty new, and now you have Utah Hockey Club joining the NHL as, you know, a team that moved from Arizona, but a fresh new start. I'm really pumped up about it, Robin, and I'm curious if you've been part of any other firsts as a sports fan, if you've been able to watch them, if you've been present for the first time something happened in sports.
Yeah, you know, I have to think back on a few. Not really in any major sports, honestly. I think the only thing that would come close to was while I was actually a student at the University of Arizona, I went to the first season for the Tucson Roadrunners, so the minor league franchise for the Utah Hockey Club. But even then, I don't think that holds a candle to what we're experiencing today.
Yes, certainly. I mean, this is big time stuff, and we got a couple of firsts announced last week. We know that Logan Cooley is going to be the first time captain for this team. This is going to be the inaugural season, the inaugural franchise captain. What do you think of the pick?
Oh yeah, I think it's Clayton Keller.
Sorry, who did I say? Did I say Cooley? Clayton Keller.
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal pick. I was talking about it with my co-host Tom on the Locked On show over the summer, and who I think might be a really good captain. And I was kind of balancing between Clayton Keller and Lawson Krause. I was looking at both of them, both of their leadership style, watching them in Arizona. They both held the A for as long as they have, and I'm like, all right, it's going to be one of those two. I won't be surprised which one, and I'll be happy with either pick. And Clayton Keller is a phenomenal guy. He's been a part of the franchise for a long time, and really has improved over the years. He's done an amazing job, even after only a couple years, 2 seasons after getting his a broken leg in the middle of the season. So he's come a long way, and I think there's no one that deserves it more.
Yes, Clayton Keller, of course, although he does have similar flow to Logan Cooley. That's not a mistake we should be making, getting those two mixed up. Look, you've got a bunch of guys on this roster who I think are capable of scoring goals, and we've seen the attack when they were Arizona Coyotes be pretty successful. Of course, the problem has been allowing too many goals, and there were some personnel moves made this offseason to kind of address that. And we get to find out starting tonight whether or not those moves are successful. Do you think that the moves made, the addition of Sergachev and getting some more experience on that blue line, do you think that enough has been done to kind of slow or stem the tide of goals against for this Utah Hockey Club?
I would certainly like to think so. I think Sergachev comes in with a lot of experience. He comes in with a couple of Stanley Cups. He knows what it takes to win, and he knows what it takes to hold down that blue line. The only difference now being is, first of all, he has to manage what he has previously had with injury issues. But two, adding a guy like Sergachev is he at first he had Victor Hedman alongside him in Tampa Bay, and now he is the number one guy in Utah. It is his blue line to command. I'd like to see exactly how he does that, but based off of what I've seen him play before, again, in Tampa Bay, I think he has what it takes, and this blue line is really going to be a huge step up from the previous years in Arizona.
What about in the net? What about in goal? Does this team have the necessary stoppers in order to make that attack effective?
Yeah, I've been really confident with this tandem. Connor Ingram and Kurovic Melka have done a phenomenal job. They held it on the last couple of years as well. Ingram has only been getting better. I was a little hesitant at first, taking a look at Ingram, had a little bit of a rocky first season, but really started to hold his own. And Kurovic Melka, again, no difference. And I think this is one of the really cool things, what we're experiencing now in hockey, where previously you had those era where it was a true starting goaltender and a true backup goaltender. We're not really seeing that much anymore. We're seeing these 1A and 1B situations. A 1A like Connor Ingram, 1B Kurovic Melka really could go the other way. Either way, they both work well together, and they're both going to have fresh legs and have that fresh start ready to hold down that net.
What do you think the split's going to be in terms of in games started for both of those guys? I mean, I know it's not going to be quite 50-50, but what do you think the number looks like at the end of this season? How many each of them start?
Yeah, and again, I think that a lot of that goes with the full quotes 1A, 1B situation. The 1A is going to get that slight majority, and I'm going to say for all intents and purposes here, Connor Ingram maybe get like 60% of the game. So he might start like 50 to 55 games, and Kurovic Melka gets the remaining of those games.
Robin Leonio, host of the Utah Hockey Club, the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast, is my guest here ahead of the first puck dropping in the regular season at the Delta Center tonight. That happens at 8 o'clock. All right, so for the uninitiated in NHL fandom, we're going to be talking about goals. We're going to be talking about assists. We're going to be talking about penalties and penalty kill. When it's time for the special teams, when it's time to play shorthanded, is this team equipped?
That's actually a huge question. This is one of the things that I think a lot of people are having questions going into. Special teams has been my issue, my main focus issue looking at this team going into the season. They did make some pickups. They did pick up, as we talked about, those defensemen in Sergachev. They picked up Bortuzzo as well. Kevin Stenlund on the fourth line as forwards. They picked up guys who are known for acting in that penalty kill situation. Didn't play as well as I thought they would in the preseason, but I'm going to have to see. I'm going to have to take a look. I'm not quite convinced yet, if I'm being honest, on that penalty kill. It's going to take a little bit until I can be really convinced, but they're going to come close. I think it's going to be a step up from the previous seasons, though.
The community's really excited. The ownership's really excited. The players have said all the right things. The coaches and the general managers, they seem like they're ready to be part of the larger sports community here in Salt Lake City. And look, there's going to be plenty of fans in the building that are kind of neophytes and figuring out when is the right time to yell at the referee and when's the right time to cheer because of the fight that's about to happen and whatever else. But it's a ramped up level of excitement, and it's a bigger building than they've been playing in. And I think it's a willing fan base. Does that translate to any difference in what this team does competitively? I mean, I don't want to cast any aspersions on what was going on in Arizona because that was beyond the control of the fans. And obviously the loyal fans filled up a very small arena and were as loud as they could be. But does this new situation for the team of a new city and an arena that will eventually be replaced, but an arena that is, I think, for the most part, going to be full of loud and enthusiastic fans, does it give them anything that actually translates to the ice?
Oh, Oh yeah, absolutely. I would totally think it definitely does. You just take a look at what the buy-in that some of these players have already provided over the course of the last few months. I mean, let's rewind a little bit and take a look back at that welcome party that they give back. What is it now? But even before the summer, it's like back in April, where Liam O'Brien was fired up. He was ready. I think we're going to see a lot of that across the board, and I think a lot of that kind of goes in, and that kind of energy, that kind of excitement from the players for the fan base, it certainly goes into to the performance base, and we're definitely going to see it. Players feed off their fans, and they love it.
All right, before I let you go, does this team win its inaugural regular season game at the Delta Center?
Yeah, they'll absolutely win tonight. Not only is it going to be that loud in there, but a win over Chicago is going to be a really fun one. Everyone's going to be treated to a really great game.
Robin, appreciate your time and your insights. We will see you at the Delta Center. Thank you. That's Robin Leano, Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast host. One of many media outlets that are going to be out on the plaza, touching base with the fans, doing a lead-up to puck drop. You know our guy Spence Checketts, by the way, is doing a special hit out live at the Delta Center tonight?
Yeah, and then on TV with, I think, our friend Dave Fox.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hockey insider Spence Checketts.
He's going to show up in a Ranger sweater, guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Better not. Imagine Dragons has not one, not two, but 3 shows at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater coming up, well, this week. October 15th will be the last one. You can win tickets on the show right here in our trivia section. You can go for details at ESPN700sports.com. What is it? It's a Friday night, a Saturday night, and then a Tuesday?
Correct.
Woo! Imagine Dragons, 3 shows. Showing a little extra love for the Salt Lake City fans at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. We'll be giving away those tickets in about 20 minutes on the Sean O'Connell Show. I have sound from Utah practice from yesterday. Mekhi Bernard had some interesting comments. Isaac Wilson as well. I'm going to play Isaac Wilson first because I want to make sure we get to it.
Okay.
Does this sound like somebody who knows he's starting? Does this sound like somebody who knows he's being passed over? I'm going to let you listen and decide. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700. You know how you could tell Alonzo is a great producer who actually cares about the show? Because the bumper music relates to what he wants to talk about. Vindicated?
Vindicated.
Are you referring to Aaron Rodgers being vindicated in some way?
Listen, as you know, the ayahuasca enthusiast is on my last damn nerve for personal reasons with the Green Bay Packers. But it sounds like our guy, Aaron Rodgers, your guy, Aaron Rodgers, has been vindicated.
We might have an update on Aaron Rodgers and the Robert Saleh firing if we could get there. I want to make sure we do justice to the sound we got for practice yesterday. Mekhi Bernard spoke with the media. Brant Keithy spoke with the media, and Isaac Wilson spoke with the media. Also, quick side note here, Alonzo. When people are telling stories about Mekhi Bernard, they unapologetically, unabashedly call him Micah. Like people in the program.
Like around him?
Yeah, not with him there, but they'll be referring to him. Like, you remember when Micah did this? I'm like, wait, who are they talking about?
Mekhi?
And then I listened closer, and they're definitely talking about Mekhi Bernard, but they just called him Micah.
I wonder if maybe it's like me with how no one can get my last name right. That you're just like, whatever, man. Or how no one can spell my first name right.
Say it the right way.
Sariñana.
What?
Sariñana.
I've been saying it wrong, and you didn't even try to correct me once?
Well, we've been friends for a while, so it's okay. That's what friends do. Like, I don't call you OC, I call you Sean.
Sariñana.
But see, here's the thing, though. Here in the United States of America, we don't use the Enya.
That's true. I didn't even put it up when I saved your contact. I didn't even put an Enye on there.
No one does, though. I don't think my wife even has the Enya in the name.
I'm sorry about that. In any case, that's a non sequitur. It doesn't matter. Micah Bernard, if people want to refer to him that way, go ahead. Pronounce it wrong. Doesn't bother me. Mekhi Bernard spoke with the media, but I want to give you Isaac Wilson. Again, this is a true freshman who's been press ganged into starting because Cam Rising's injury has lingered and the finger's a problem, and we can't get any special insight on it because make it 3 weeks in a row now. He's expressed no interest in coming on the show, which is a bummer for us, but it is what it is. Isaac Wilson answered the typical questions, and then you'll hear some idiot, me, press him, be like, do you really not know if you're going to start? I just want you to listen to it and tell me what you think. Go ahead.
What did you learn that bye week is good for?
Recovering the body, and especially with that loss last week, just sitting on something sour, and I feel like we're going to come out and do something great.
Was it hard going into a week off on the heels of a loss?
For sure, because you want to get back out there and show yourself, but we just had to sit on that loss for a whole another week, which makes it so much more sour, and in the end it's going to become sweet.
You've had to grow up very quickly. What did the program at corner do to get you ready for all that you've been through right now?
Coach Kerr did an amazing job. I mean, if you really look at his offense and his scheme, he pulled a lot of stuff from Coach Ludd. He loves coming to these practices. I think he prepared me pretty well. My dad being alongside me and having Zach too, they all went to corner games, so just having that extra step. Did you learn to have a short memory at corner, or is that something that's kind of coming up here at Utah? You've got lots of veterans to lean on. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. I've been trying to – I mean, everyone's got to have a short memory. They always remember stuff, but you know how it is. I feel like I had a short memory in high school, try to get rid of stuff pretty easy. I just got to think I could be mad at myself after the game. I could be mad at myself when I'm watching film, but in that moment, I got to be there for my teammates, so on to the next play.
Isaac, where do you go next? Like, after a loss, how do you process that, and how do you kind of use that as motivation to improve?
Got to come back. The team really supported me. We all supported each other. It was a team loss. It was rough, but we got to come back even better, and I feel like we've had a great practice so far, and we just got to keep ripping it.
How do you process the noise going on outside of the program, specifically regarding Cam? I mean, people want to know if he's coming back, and obviously if he doesn't come back, it falls on your shoulders. Mm-hmm.
I don't really think about that. I'm not on social media. Everyone says, oh, go look at Twitter. No. Twitter is the last place you want to go. But, yeah, I try to stay off social media, all that stuff. If I end up playing, I play. If I don't, I don't. It's just how it works. I gotta be ready.
Outside looking, and there's a lot of uncertainty around that quarterback position. How much uncertainty is there in a practice week? Do you know already who's going to play, or is it really game time to see?
Practice is practice. I just got to go in and perform. They put me in. I got to perform. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what's happening, but just go out and,
You don't know what's happening on game day on a Friday, short week, coming off a bye week. You truly don't know if you're going to start or not.
Nope. Gotta prepare like I'm the starter, like I do every week. If I'm the second string, third string, gotta prepare like I'm the starter every week. So it's not really getting to me. Oh, you're not going to start this week. Oh, you're going to start this week. It's not going to faze me.
Kyle mentioned today that if Cam isn't able to come back from his injury, that the contingency plan would be you would be the quarterback for the rest of the season. You know, knowing that, I guess, does it affect how you prepare? I mean, how prepared do you feel for that moment if it does come?
No, I just got to keep preparing like the starter quarterback, like I said before. Put in those extra hours. I mean, extra hours is ordinary, and I want to be more than ordinary. Like Cam and Coach Ludd and all them always said, you got to geek out on it. And I feel like I'm getting to that point, and everything's becoming simple.
Have you been to ASU?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
It was a great experience. I got recruited by Kenny Dillingham. He was a great guy, great coach. Good experience up there. Hot, but that's not going to affect us.
You cut out the part where Adam Mikulich kept going.
I didn't cut anything.
Oh, okay. James did. Cut out the part where he said, hey, big party town. And the perfect answer from Isaac Wilson. He said, yeah, so I've heard. Just, first of all, I'm impressed with the kid. He's very polished.
I don't think he likes you, though.
He probably doesn't.
No.
I'm not going to put him in that position again. I just wanted to know if he knows. And I think he probably does. But he gave the right answer. He gave the diplomatic answer. He did the coach speak thing. He did Coach Witt proud. And honestly, I think there's a benefit for him of being from the family he's from, right? He got to watch his older brother go through this whole crazy mess, being the starting quarterback at BYU, being a highly rated draft pick, being berated by New York media, and handling it with, I think, grace and aplomb in a lot of cases. And then, of course, now handling it the right way when he got to Denver. So I think that helps Isaac Wilson. I think it probably helps that his dad was a high-level college athlete. I think it helps that his mom is a big-time social media presence. And I think he's just, knows the PR game. So,
no, I mean, you can't deny he's very polished. He was prepared is the best way to put it.
He's also lying a little bit when he says, it doesn't affect me one way or another if I play, if I don't play. That's not true. Not knowing if you're going to be the starter versus knowing you're going to be the starter, or having at least a strong inkling that you're going to be the starter, if you're the long snapper, is significant. If you're the starting quarterback, it's massively important. So, are we doing this thing where we genuinely believe that it's a game time decision? Are we doing this thing where we genuinely have no idea if Cam Rising is going to be ready to play? The trend for Cam Rising's media availability or lack thereof would suggest that they're either going to surprise the heck out of everybody or that this saga continues and we wait until kickoff. And by the way, I have gone like a metronome, ticking back and forth. It's going to be Cam for sure. Nope, I feel like it's Isaac today. Tomorrow I'll be like, I heard something last night from somebody who knows somebody whose dog walks with Kyle Whittingham's dog that said that it's actually going to be Cam Rising. And like I said earlier on the show, I am simultaneously infuriated and impressed by how little information you can glean from people that are inside the program. Whether he's ruling out of respect or out of fear or out of pure abject love or whatever it is, Kyle Whittingham has this program locked down from a messaging standpoint. If there is knowledge to be had, they're either not sharing it with the players so they can't pass it on, or they have successfully conveyed to players we will find out who the leak is and that leak will be punished accordingly because we're not getting anything solid. I should put a poll question up every single day, Alonzo. Will Cam Rising or Isaac Wilson be the starter against Arizona State?
I actually, to play devil's advocate a little bit, I actually think it could literally, like you said, it would be a pendulum swing. Every single day, I think it would differ. Where, like today, I bet you it would be Isaac is starting today. And I'm just simply saying that based on some of the text messages that we've seen that we haven't talked about.
You know how I deliberately filter out the text messages when it's somebody who knows somebody who's got a source?
Yes.
I heard from somebody in the program. Not because I don't think that they heard that, or not because they don't believe that their source is relevant, and I might believe that same source was relevant if I knew who it was. But it would be just crazy irresponsible for us on the home of the Utes to put something out there so that if somebody tuned in at that exact time and I was just like, Cam Rising is going to be out until next February. See, I just did it.
We're about to get sued so hard. No, but even then, right? Like, I mean, it's like you and I have both had the experience where a rando has come up to you and said, hey, Cam isn't playing. I heard this from so-and-so's stepmother's dog's babysitter. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
And so it's like, okay, that's fine. But no, that's irresponsible. It's hearsay is what it is. Hearsay.
Conjecture. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Also, I have to throw a flag on myself.
Oh, no.
15-yard penalty. I said Logan Cooley instead of Clayton Keller
that was
for the captain.
I was, you know.
You know what? It happens in my brain. That's the problem. Like, it's two handsome, young, long-haired hockey players.
Oh, yeah. It's easy.
And I'm like, dang it.
In your defense, though, actually, no, that's indefensible.
It's indefensible. One of them is the captain. One of them is a 20-year-old, like, rising star, but 6 years behind where the captain's at, who's probably going to be an NHL All-Star at some point.
It was super cool of Robin to be like, well, it was Clayton Keller.
It's Clayton Keller. Like, you idiot. But anyway, flag on me. All right. I'm doing that thing that you see in football games and basketball games. I'm patting my chest. That's on me, guys. Yes. Yep. That's my bad. It's my fault.
Not an honest mistake.
It was an honest mistake.
No, it wasn't.
It was just accidental.
That's like getting me and you confused. There's no way.
It's not anything like getting me and you confused. All right. But it's a blunder and not one you want to make when you're talking about the Utah Hockey Club on Professional Sports Talk Radio. Are you a hockey fan and are you a beer fan? If those two things, if that Venn diagram meets in your life, Epic Brewing Company has great news for you in the form of the Utah Hip Check Ice Lager. It's a delicious 7.5% Imperial Lager available in 16-ounce cans at Epic Brewing and at state liquor stores. Beer and hockey coming together. You're going to see a lot of that at the Delta Center tonight. Utah Hip Check Ice Lager, available today at Epic Brewing, located 825 South State. ESPN 700 and Spence Checketts are actually broadcasting live today from 2 to 5 from Epic Brewing. So that's your pregame. You go out to Epic on State Street. You'll be 2.5 minutes away from the Delta Center at that point. You take a quick little Uber over after you've enjoyed a few of these Hip Check ice lagers at 7.5% alcohol by volume, and you're enjoying your inaugural regular season contest with the Utah Hockey Club. See? I just made your plans tonight for you.
Thank you. Clayton Keller.
Clayton Keller will be the captain tonight. Logan Cooley is like Clayton Keller, Diet Clayton Keller.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Clayton Keller 0.
I don't know if that's a backhanded compliment or not, but all right.
Clayton Keller light. It's a compliment. Sean O'Connell Show continues. We'll wrap things up next. I'll give away some tickets. We've got Imagine Dragons. We got Farmer and Chemist gift card. Alonzo might throw in a Jersey Mike's free sub or two. You never know.
I think you're paying for those, though, because you won. I didn't win. I had a brutal weekend.
In your underdog fantasy?
Yeah. On all fantasy, my guy. I was – how do you lose with Kirk Cousins as your starting quarterback in fantasy? This guy did it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. You like that?
I see what you did. That's a callback. How many years ago was that for Kirk Cousins?
I think he was still with the Commanders, then the Redskins, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's how long it's been.
That was 2 teams ago for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, you're right. Because, guaranteed contract in Minnesota. Yeah, so like 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
That's a deep cut, baby.
Deep cut.
Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700. Sean O'Connell Show, wrapping things up here on a Tuesday. Here's your topical trivia question. You get 2 free Jersey Mike sub cards, $25 gift card to Farmer and Chemist, redeemable in-store. And Imagine Dragons coming to Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater Friday, Saturday, and next Tuesday. 2 tickets to one of those shows if you can answer this question. Utah Hockey Club drops the puck tonight on the 2024 season. In 1996, they were the Arizona Coyotes for the first time. Who were the Coyotes before they were the Coyotes? Where did that team come from? 877-353-0700. The Arizona Coyotes were also a relocated team. Tell me who they were before they were the Arizona Coyotes, and you win the prize pack today, which is 2 Jersey Mike's sub cards, Farmer and Chemist gift card, and Imagine Dragons tickets. 877-353-0700. All right. You played Vindicated because you felt like Aaron Rodgers was vindicated with my accusations that he was the reason that Woody Johnson decided to fire Robert Saleh. They did meet on Monday night, by the way.
They did. I'll be honest. I don't think he's fully vindicated. It's a bit, of course, but he has to have something to do with it. He has
100%. You don't like coincidentally speak with the starting quarterback, highest paid player on your team, the night before you fire the head coach, and then that person's just like, oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. Totally unrelated.
Okay. No one believes you, Woody.
Sorry, Woody, no one believes you. But the other report coming out about why he decided to fire Robert Saleh after Week 5 is absolutely incredible stuff.
Yeah, let me pull it up. I had it pulled up, and then I had to, as you know, spin some discs over here, plates or whatever you say.
Well, the way that I think this plays out, or the alleged way that this plays out, or the alleged influence on why you wanted to separate yourself from Robert Saleh if you're Woody Johnson, had something to do with the fact that also inexplicably Woody Johnson is an ambassador for the United States of America.
In the UK.
The UK ambassador.
Where they just got smoked by the fighting Darnolds. So according to, and this was on the Dan Patrick Show earlier, you heard it here on ESPN 700, Jets beat reporter Brian Cause states that you can't overlook the game being in London on Sunday. He was the ambassador to the UK. He's got a lot of friends over there. I'm sure he was embarrassed. That was probably a factor. If that's a factor, that's one of the most insane flexes in the history of sports.
How amazing would it be, though, if you're the ambassador and, like Tony Blair, he's not officially in UK government anymore, but let's say he's your friend. And he's like, you're sitting between Tony Blair and Hugh Grant in the owner's box at the stadium, and they're just like, cheerio, good chap. This team is rubbish. Just talking their smack to you while they drink tea and crumpets.
I mean, I would start
It's
with
just positively dreadful, Woody. You must get rid of whoever's the cause behind it.
And I'd start with, your hot beverage of choice in this country is trash. Don't talk to me like that.
Just getting phone calls from that +44 area code, right? Because that's the country code for the UK.
Yeah.
Text messages coming in on your WhatsApp.
Rubbish.
You should be embarrassed by Robert Saleh. Fire him.
This Aaron Rodgers fella, I can't do an accent like you, but this Aaron Rodgers fella is rubbish. Pure rubbish. I saw this video of, and Saleh was trying to embrace A-Rod, and then A-Rod was just kind of like, no, and just kind of MF'd him.
That's from the first win they had together.
Okay, so it wasn't last week. I just wanted to because this is the era that we're in. We have to debunk some things.
No, but that's and then the explanation was like, oh yeah, he's just not a big hugger, so it surprised me.
That's
wrong.
Not true. That's not
you
true.
gave him a death stare and cursed at him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm deaf in one ear, so I can read lips. There was no embracing of love, unless his term of endearment is they begin with M and end with ER.
So, Woody Johnson claims that he had a conversation with Aaron Rodgers on Monday night, but they didn't even speak about Robert Saleh. And then on Tuesday, he fires Robert Saleh and has security escort him out of the building.
Which that part's incredible, by the way.
You only do that to make somebody feel embarrassed.
100%. And Adam Gase, who was absolute hot garbage, as we say here in America, did not get the same treatment.
And Adam Gase had those crazy eyes.
Yes.
So if you're going to escort someone out of the building, it's the crazy eye dude.
Yeah, it's Adam Gase.
Although Robert Saleh, more likely to be the roid rage type, he's still pretty buff.
Saleh could have taken a couple guys out. He could have taken a couple. But
you know what's so funny, though, is nobody being separated from head coaching duties in the NFL is going to go down swinging. You don't have to walk them out. These individuals know that there's a future job waiting for them somewhere. They just have to not act like an insane person.
Right.
There's no one is going to start swinging, except maybe Rex Ryan could have.
I could absolutely see Rex Ryan just spit a gob of dip at somebody and get out of my way as I'm going into my office to get my memorabilia. You're not going to send that to me. I'm taking it with me.
Yeah. Look at that. Delta Center on ESPN right now.
Hey, that's a good thing, though, for this market.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. I mean, I did you expect in our lifetime that we'd be having an NHL opening? Well, what is it? It's called opening night in hockey, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I'm not trying to disparage anything. NHL opening night in Salt Lake City is the marquee game on ESPN.
They're doing a best of the Delta Center in Salt Lake City right now on ESPN.
The Kobe windmill is such a classic, too.
No, stop it. Get out of here, Laker fan. No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over all that wind coming from the Kobe windmill.
Why is it? No. Okay. Why
Anthony Edwards posterizing John Collins.
Okay, this is not the right way to do this, ESPN. The top moments at the Delta Center, and then it's just Jazz guys getting posterized. No. If the Baron Davis dunk goes up over Andre Kirilenko, was that at home?
That was here, I believe.
Oh, my gosh.
You're going to lose it, aren't you?
Okay, here we go. John Stockton, 1996. That's what we're looking at.
Oh, no.
Now it's Michael Jordan and the push-off. Grievance. Premature grievance being aired against ESPN television.
Barry Melrose. Hey, is Barry Melrose here? Wow, we should have asked for Barry Melrose.
Yeah,
I dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
That's my. You know what? I'm doing the chess thing too. That's my bad.
That's a flag on Alonzo.
Yeah, that's a motion penalty right there. Procedure. Oh, I forgot about the Sundiata Games.
Sundiata Games. That's a name you haven't heard in a long time.
That's a deep.
Some highlights right now on ESPN television. Don't turn it on because most of them are teams and their highlights over the Utah Jazz at the Delta Center. But the Delta Center playing host to Utah Hockey Club, puck dropping tonight at 8 o'clock. We will see you there. Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. He's on remote at Epic Brewing Company. What do we have tomorrow? We got Scott Mitchell. We got Julie Stewart-Binks, NHL Insider.
Morgan Scally
for a little Coordinator's Corner action.
And your guy, Zachariah.
And Zachariah for the whole Zachariah Hour.
Yes.
That's going to be a fun show.
Wait, have you told the people that you're going to be in Tempe?
I have not.
So we're going to have a Football Friday from Tempe.
I will be in Tempe. Actually, maybe I did mention this. I'm pretty insufferable. I almost certainly mentioned it. I'm filling in for Sly on the Utah football broadcast, which means I will be broadcasting in Tempe, Arizona on Friday. Tomorrow, I think we're up in Layton at the RV show. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I mean, you got a nice little trip before a trip.
Sean O'Connell Show. Wrapping up. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's ESPN 700.